Why did Hollywood ban Taylor Lautner? He was one of the biggest heartthrobs in cinema, but today he is hated for an unbelievable reason. Taylor was the big star of the Twilight saga for several years, but when the hype for the film died down, something very strange happened. While his colleagues Kristen Stewart and Robert Pattinson are becoming more successful every day, it seems that Lautner has simply disappeared. A lot of people thought he was taking a break from his career, but that's not true. And the real reason you don't see him in films anymore is shocking. To begin with, Taylor never managed it well in his career and therefore ended up never developing his potential as an actor. For example, his colleague Robert Pattinson took advantage of the Twilight hype to appear in several other films. This helped him grow in the industry, as well as showing the big names in Hollywood that he had talent for more serious films. And thanks to that, after the end of the Twilight saga, Robert was called to participate in several other films. But Lautner didn't do any of that. His only film outside his comfort zone was Valentine's Day. Because it was a very simple role, it ended up not helping the actor much to get out of the shadow of the Twilight film. And that's why when the film ended, he hardly received any offers for big papers. But it doesn't stop there, because after that, the actor still did something that ruined his career even more. Still in the hype of the Twilight film, Lautner was cast to make his first solo film. This was the actor's golden chance to show that he was much more than people thought, and to leave the shadow of his previous success for good. But unfortunately for you, this film was a complete failure. Remember we talked about the actor not having made any other films besides Twilight? Well, this made him an inexperienced actor who often didn't stand out because he didn't know how to show his talent. And this film made that very clear. So much so that its Metascore scores were very low, and the film only grossed 20 million at the box office, which barely paid the actor's salary. And to be honest, this is another reason why no one wants to hire him nowadays. Despite the great success of the Twilight saga, the film's hype has long since passed. But it seems that Lautner still hasn't realized that. Whenever someone offers a role, they demand a very high price. If his films were a success, probably no one would complain about that. But unfortunately for Lautner, that's not the case. In his first solo film, the actor demanded $5 million, and even though he was a complete failure, the actor continued to charge exorbitant amounts. At that time, many large studios offered papers for Taylor, who ended up refusing simply because he didn't want to receive less than $7 million. This ended up making the producers furious, and that's why the actor simply disappeared from Hollywood. But it seems that this dose of reality made him wake up to life, and lately things are very different. In addition to becoming more humble, the actor reinvented himself to get work in the industry again. So much so that one of her biggest works after the film Twilight came recently, in the film Grown Ups 2, where Taylor plays a much more fun role. And it seems that comedy is really his strong suit, which is why this film ended up being a huge box office success. So much so that shortly after its release, Adam Sandler himself invited him for acting in a Netflix comedy. Little by little, this kind of rekindled the talent of the actor who nowadays shines in the BBC series Cuckoo. And if he continues like this, it's very likely that we'll see him again in theaters. In the end, Taylor Lautner's story serves to remember that fame is never forever, and without effort, it is impossible to get anywhere. It was only after Taylor discovered this that he was able to turn things around, but even then, his career was never the same.